Charlie Paradise. We're knocking on a heaven's door. Hey, welcome, friends, fans, loyalists, jihad haters, friends and family and young guns. We're back to Guerrilla Google News. We've been on hiatus with this part of programming on our beloved GDD, but we're back, especially with the election in full swing. So let's start it now. Bam! Hadoom! Judge halts PA's tough new voter ID requirement. Associated Press 28 minutes ago. Very quickly on this, I am leaning left really very much across the board at this point, and it's been ever since second Bush presidency, and really since we invaded Iraq back in 2002, because I did vote for Bush #1, having started the Young Republicans Club back in high school, certainly through my Chicago Curry College basketball playing days and the early workforce of D.C. My father was Republican, my grandfather was Republican. But so that being said, Bush ruined it. I love Barack the first time. I love him even more this time around. We're looking forward to the debates on Wednesday. But this is one weird kind of instance and incident where I agree with the Republicans right now, because I don't understand how you can't get a license, and I don't understand how you're able to vote without one. If you can't drive, we've all been there before in Zillaland, and it happens, right? If you can't drive, you still can go to the DMV and you can get a license. And that's just one of a couple ways. So I just don't understand. In 2012, people have cars. It's not horse and buggy, and there's cities everywhere, and we're interconnected by trains, planes, automobiles, electric scooters, and segways. So I don't really, I hear the other side, but I'm actually with the Republicans on this. I think you should have a license to vote. So let's go. NBC News, 21 minutes ago, Obama prepares debate defense. It's happening tomorrow. For me, I guess there is this small segment of independents that are still undecided. But for most of the country that is decided, all this is going to do is kind of reinforce their own ideologies, and they're going to stick to this partisan thing. So, I expect them both to do a good job. I'm not as interested as I thought I'd be when I look at the fact that there's not so much movement. It's happened in the past, but those were also different environments, much different environments than really the huge partisan divide that we see here nationally, of course, incumbent in our Congress here in D.C. So I'm not that excited. I'll watch the first one, see how they do. It'll be interesting. You should be forced to answer the question. You can't ask you a question about Social Security and you start talking about Medicaid or Iraq. I just go back to that first the second Bush. They'd ask every question they asked him. He'd just talk about not flip-flopping in Iraq. Insane if you voted for him a second time. Okay, you are insane. But it's okay. We all forgive. Okay, 3-minute mark. Let's go. Iran's whatever this Zilla Ahmadinejad rejects domestic criticism as currency slumps. Iranian currencies in the toilet. This guy, it's this Arab Spring as it continues. It's going to be interesting. I think we're going to find a new friend in Egypt, and everybody misses the old guys that are on the more conservative-leaning type of U.S. ideology these days. But, this guy in Egypt, that Murbarak, whatever his name was, that they put in there like Silence of the Lambs in that cage, which the guy in Syria definitely saw that and said, it's not going to happen to me. Nino Brown, if I go down, I'm taking everybody with me. They should have never wheeled him out there like Hannibal Lecter in court for everybody to see. But that being said, I think we have a new ally in Egypt. He went to USC, for Christ's sakes. And, this stuff tends to get better every year, i.e. we look at racism in our own backyard, which, some people would like to go backwards. But overall, there's a lot of reasons to be positive. This guy in Iran, he's next. And it might take 2 or 3 years, but it's really the world is starting to move against him. His allies are falling, and my man in Syria probably misses the fact that a lot of these terrorists aren't still in office. It's making it very difficult for him to get control of that situation. What else do we got? All right, Georgia's president. We don't want to talk about him. Occupy DC celebrates 1 year. We definitely don't want to talk about that. But I will talk about, Dow closes. We'll segue into the markets here before we wrap it up. Dow closes lower, Nasdaq. We gave you shorting social media. This was 2 years ago. You go back through some of the gorillas. We gave you Pandora, short it. We love it. Groupon. We told you there's a place called Coupons right across the street from their headquarters in Chicago. We told you the motherlode Facebook a year before it came out. We had an IPO picked around 50 or 60. Okay, and we said you're gonna run this thing down to 8 or 9. So we gave you all that. Dow is starting to rally here. I don't want to give up on stocks just yet, but just to bring it back to the Occupy, while I do thumbs down some of these, I'm going to clean up my language here at 36 and a lot of things happening in my own life, but, the bank bailout is bullshit, and there had to be some further repudite on what these guys were going to be forced to pay. They can't just walk away in the sunset, almost destroy the world economy, start 3 wars in the process. I mean, the music gets better, as it always does in a bad economy, but these guys wouldn't know anything about that. And now they're back. So, right here to close it up, you're seeing New York Attorney General bringing a lawsuit against J.P. Morgan with the record high profits, and their thing is that there's a couple new precedents and rules that make it a little bit easier for a prosecutor to go after a case like this with J.P. Morgan, which in their mind they just went through double jeopardy. It's not a criminal complaint, so there are some new, as I understand it, things in their arsenal that they can use to go after cases like this. And the bottom line is you bought Bear Stearns. You loved buying Bear Stearns. Bank of America was drooling when they got to buy Merrill Lynch, and they weren't able to retain a lot of talent, and it wasn't as great as they thought at the time. And so you have to answer for that. And I hope we see this go on for a long time. I hope we see $30-40 billion in fines, and ultimately I hope we see these things getting broken up into all the cute little firms they used to be. Remember Salomon Brothers, and remember Baybank in Massachusetts, and Cambridge Savings, and Fleet, and Shawmut. You go on and on and on. So, get back to the bread and butter. We do have to curb speculation, and that's coming from your boy. So, hey, debates Wednesday. The dollar is looking strong. There's a lot of concerns with global growth. I would get out of international funds right now. Of course, we're still in silver and metal and the gold stocks. And sitting tight, but there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. We're back here. Thanks for following Chucky P, Gorilla Dung Daily, and we out.